This video is sponsored by Rail and Road Auction House, the Midwest's only dedicated home for transportation memorabilia. Give yourself a chance to own a piece of history by attending one of their upcoming online auctions. Register to bid by downloading the new Rail and Road app on your Apple or Android device, or visit rarauctions.com to join in on the fun. Whether you're new to the hobby or are a lifelong Railroadiana collector, Rail and Road has something for everyone. From porcelain to paper and signs to speeders, Rail and Road Auction House is the place to find your railroad treasure. When most rail fans think of Kansas City Southern, they think of the original main line from Missouri to Louisiana and Texas. However, the history of KCS showcases strategic expansions and partnerships to strengthen its position in the rail industry. Throughout 2022 and the beginning of 2023, we aimed to showcase the lesser-known extremities of Kansas City Southern, documenting trains on former GM&O lines in Missouri and Mississippi during the company's final days. On the morning of July 26, 2022, we traveled to the small community of Leonia, Missouri, to document the KCS Roodhouse local, which runs from its namesake in Illinois to the west, arriving in Leonia, where it serves Poet Bioprocessing, an advanced bioethanol production facility. The plant utilizes approximately 17 million bushels of locally sourced corn to produce 80 million gallons of bioethanol annually. Poet offers a high-performance, eco-friendly fuel and premium Dakota Gold brand livestock feed. The facility takes pride in contributing to the local economy through improved corn prices, value-added markets for farmers, job creation, and increased local tax revenue. The town of Leonia was settled in 1867 by construction workers of the Louisiana and Missouri River Railroad. Named for its founder, Amos Ladd, the town was incorporated in 1871 and is located within Audrain County, having a population of just 513. A large trackside grain elevator dominates the town's skyline, but hasn't been rail-served in years. This sleepy Midwest town has certainly seen better days. Its once vibrant downtown is all but boarded up, with only a few businesses open and one restaurant. Thankfully, Poet provides many residents with employment and has played a vital role in the community's survival. Around 10 a.m., we caught up with the Roodhouse local east of Leonia with a pair of EMD GP40-3s for power. In Leonia, we recorded the train taking the siding so that it could work at Poet. KCS 2974 was originally built as road number 798 in August of 1979. The locomotive had spent its entire life on the KCS roster up to this point, having been repainted into the Southern Belle scheme in 2021. The trailing unit, GP40-3 number 2812, was originally built for the Western Pacific in May of 1966. It spent over a decade on the UP roster after the merger in 1982, eventually being acquired by KCS in the early 90s. In recent years, KCS upgraded the locomotive to -3 specs and in 2020 repainted the unit into the Belle scheme. After bringing their train to a stop, the crew uncoupled the locomotives so that they could run around their cars and then shove in to tow it. After clearing the control point at West Leonia, they repeated the process at the east end of the siding, shoving back and then tying onto their train. The Roodhouse subdivision of KCS Railway runs from Roodhouse, Illinois to Mexico, Missouri. Typically, the local travels to Leonia on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There are occasions where they may venture into Mexico if the Slater local has delivered cars there. In addition to the local, the subdivision sees approximately 2 to 5 through trains every day. Since the merger with CP in April of 23, there has been a significant increase in train activity, particularly with regular grain trains. With the EOT device removed, the crew shoved the train down the spur into the plant, picking up the loaded ethanol tankers for the journey east. After pulling the loads, the empties were shoved back into the plant so that they could be filled with ethanol. It started to rain, so we took shelter in the car until the train was ready to depart. The local transports the loads to Roodhouse, where they are then sorted and picked up by road train M259. From there, the train takes the cars to Kansas City, running right back through Leonia on its way west. In Kansas City, some of the loads are assigned to KCS trains bound for the state of Louisiana, while others are handed off to either BNSF or Union Pacific for delivery to California. We followed the train from Leonia to Louisiana, Missouri, stopping to catch it at several locations along the way. In Vandalia, the Roodhouse local stopped to drop off 8 loads of dry cement for the Harbison Walker brick plant. Originally known as the Walsh Fire Clay Products Company, the plant began producing bricks in July 1918. It was once recognized as the largest brick plant in the United States. It operates 24/7, moving up to 2,500 metric tons of product per month. The company has a rich history, including difficulties during World War I and the construction of houses and a company store for its workers. In 1927, the plant was acquired by Harbison Walker Refactors Company, which led to its expansion. The plant has employed thousands of people over the years, and its success has contributed to the community by providing well-paying positions for residents. Known as the Queen of the Prairie, the town of 4,000 is a close-knit community and offers a peaceful and rural setting for its residents. The town celebrates its history and community spirit through events like Vandalia Prairie Day, which showcases the area's traditions and culture. At Bowling Green, we recorded the train from an overpass as it rolled through a tree tunnel. In Louisiana, Missouri, the Roodhouse local came to a stop to wait for a passing BNSF coal train on the K line. The building behind the train is the former Chicago and Alton Depot, which was built in 1907 and closed in 1967. It has seen better days and is slowly deteriorating thanks to a lack of care from its owner. While waiting for the BNSF train, we observed several barges passing the KCS bridge across the Mississippi River. Opened to Alton Railroad traffic in 1898, this modern-day bridge is actually the second one built here. All of the spans of the present-day structure rest on the original 1873 piers from the first. When it opened, the 444-foot swing span was the longest in the nation. In its closed position, the bridge provides a vertical clearance of 15.8 feet above the normal pool for this section of the Mississippi River. The bridge's 9 spans are pleasantly mismatched, with the oldest dating back to 1897 and the newest from 1945. The signature swing span has 17 panels and a cantilevered design and was built in 1898. The Consolidated Grain and Barge Company operates a massive elevator in Louisiana immediately south of the bridge, and is where this barge was headed. This small 50-foot tug, named the Teddy B, was assisting the barge as it passed the bridge. In 1870, construction began on the St. Louis, Jacksonville, and Chicago Railroad, creating a line from Roodhouse, Illinois to Quincy Junction on the east bank of the Mississippi River. This new line connected with another St. L.J.&C main line at Roodhouse. Meanwhile, the Louisiana and Missouri River Railroad had already built a line between Mexico, Missouri, and the Mississippi River at Louisiana by 1867. It wasn't until 1873 that the two railroads finally connected with the construction of a bridge over the Mississippi. Later in 1878, an additional 163 miles were added to extend the line westward from Mexico to Kansas City, with completion achieved in 1879 by the Kansas City, St. Louis, and Chicago Railroad. Upon completion, both railroads in Missouri came under the control of the Chicago and Alton Railroad, while in Illinois, the St. Louis, Jacksonville, and Chicago Railroad was fully absorbed by the Chicago and Alton in 1899. The Chicago and Alton operated this route as a significant connection between Kansas City and the Mississippi River. In 1931, it was renamed the Alton Railroad and became a subsidiary of the Baltimore and Ohio until 1947, when it was acquired by the Gulf, Mobile, and Ohio. The GM&O operated the line until 1972, when they merged with the Illinois Central to form the Illinois Central Gulf, which operated the line until 1987. Unfortunately, by that time, the line had significantly deteriorated. It was then sold to the Chicago, Missouri, and Western Railway, which quickly failed, leading to the line being spun off to Gateway Western Railroad in 1990. From 1990 to 1997, Gateway Western operated as an affiliate of the Santa Fe. Following the BNSF merger in 1995, Gateway Western was acquired by Kansas City Southern. This tug, originally built as the Helen S in 1965 by the Dravo Corporation, belonged to Midland Enterprises of Cincinnati, Ohio. In 2004, it was acquired by Excel Marine, also based in Cincinnati, and renamed the Nolan R. Borden. 4 years later, the Marquette Transportation Company of Jefferson, Louisiana, took ownership of the tug and renamed it the Jonathan T. Erickson. The Erickson is equipped with two EMD 16645 E7B diesel engines capable of generating 6,140 horsepower. It features Western reduction gears and twin stainless steel fixed-pitch propellers mounted in quart nozzles. The tug is supported by two Caterpillar 3306 generator sets for its electrical service. It has a fuel capacity of 64,616 gallons and a lube oil capacity of 1,270 gallons. With the barge now clear of the bridge, the operator closed the structure so that the Roodhouse local could cross the Mississippi. As the bridge was closing, the southbound BNSF coal train on the Kline came into view. The BNSF Hannibal subdivision, or K-Line, is a busy north-south corridor that runs from Burlington, Iowa to St. Louis, Missouri, following the Mississippi River much of the way. The line is divided into two sections for control purposes. From West Quincy to St. Louis, it's under the supervision of centralized traffic control with full signaling. In the opposite direction, from West Quincy to Burlington, the track is controlled by warrant without any signaling. With the BNSF train now clear of Louisiana, the Roodhouse local took its turn over the diamond immediately before crossing the river. We had hoped to chase the train all the way to Roodhouse, but due to the slow-moving traffic that we encountered and our unfamiliarity with this line, we were unable to catch it again on the Illinois side of the river. In the future, we plan to revisit the Roodhouse sub under CPKC control to see how things have progressed since the merger. On the final morning of Kansas City Southern, Thursday, April 13th, 2023, all was quiet in the small community of Saltillo, Mississippi. The sleepy town of 5,000 had no idea that another chapter of American railroad history was about to close, with a new beginning on the horizon. Like the KCS Roodhouse sub, this line, the Artesia subdivision, was also part of the GM&O as the company's main line from Mobile to St. Louis. Considered to be the backwaters of the KCS system, the Artesia sub is anything but stagnant. In fact, KCS operates several road trains on the line, as well as Dodgers or locals that are responsible for much of the railroad's originating traffic in Mississippi. Every Monday through Friday morning, Saltillo is where two of these Dodgers meet, the namesake Saltillo turn and the Corinth turn. You can expect to find at least one of them parked in the siding before sunrise as the crew waits to swap trains with the other. On this day, the Corinth turn was patiently waiting in the siding for the Saltillo. Just after sunrise, we saw the headlights of the southbound with a trio of EMDs for power. To our delight, a former Canadian national GP40-2LW, still wearing the KCS Grey Ghost scheme, was the lead motor. The Artesia subdivision, formerly the GM&O main line, became a secondary route following the merger with the Illinois Central in 1972. After the Staggers Rail Act was passed in 1980, ICG was able to divest itself of less profitable lines, and in 1985, the Artesia sub was acquired by the Gulf and Mississippi Railroad, a regional carrier that was established to operate more than 700 miles of ex-GM&O track. Due to financial struggles, it was acquired by Mid-South in 1988. The 1994 acquisition of Mid-South allowed Kansas City Southern to extend its service to reach Meridian, Mississippi, Counce, Tennessee, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The acquisition also enabled KCS to interchange with Norfolk Southern and CSX, creating new business opportunities. The Dallas to Meridian line became the modern Meridian Speedway, a vital corridor connecting the Southeast and the Southwest. With the two locals now side by side, the crews swapped trains so that they could return to their home terminals. While KCS does a fantastic job at maintaining this line, it's hard to believe that it once saw passenger service in the form of GM&O's streamlined Gulf Coast Rebel, which hit speeds up to 79 miles per hour. The train was discontinued in 1958. Shortly after changing crews, both trains departed Saltillo at the same time. We were surprised to see a trio of wide cab EMDs as the northbound's motive power. It too was wearing the Gray Ghost scheme. After catching both trains at Saltillo, we headed south for Tupelo, Mississippi, the birthplace of Elvis Presley. This charming town of 38,000 is where KCS crosses BNSF Railway's Birmingham sub, a former Frisco main line running between its namesake city and Memphis, Tennessee. KCS trains often have to wait for BNSF freights to pass. This day, however, the Saltillo turn had to wait for another KCS local occupying the main while working Tupelo Yard. After the Tupelo Yard job cleared up, the Saltillo turn proceeded south over the BNSF Diamond and into the yard where it would do some switching before continuing south for Artesia. Tupelo is home to many industries that feed KCS's Artesia sub with a whole lot of traffic. A large Cooper tire factory to the south receives inbound loads of carbon black as well as chemicals for the manufacturing process. A nearby industrial park also provides KCS local crews with plenty of work. Since it started raining immediately after the train arrived at Tupelo, we didn't stick around to see the crew setting off and picking up. Instead, we decided to wait for it to come south at Verona. While waiting for the train to finish up switching, we quickly realized that the crew had died, meaning a new one had to be called so that the train could continue south. This added a 3-hour delay to the train's departure from Tupelo.
Council 7, Kansas City, KCS 2911.
Open to KCS 2911.
Okay, so they just gonna shove y'all over the hill and they'll still be in the yard, and then you guys will stop, they'll cut off, and then you'll keep going over?
Yes, sir. They're gonna couple up to us. They're gonna try to not get. They're not gonna get past the yard board. They just gonna couple up to us, and once we get going, they get us going. They're gonna cut away from us over.
Okay, all right. You ready to copy? Switch to normal. Paperwork complete on that 7041 and ready to copy.
Yes, sir. That is correct. Well, he already copied.
Making track 140 number 7062 7062 to the KCS 2911 2911 South SUTH at Tupelo on the Artesia subdivision. Xbox 1 vote authority number 7041 7041. Xbox 2 proceed from south SUTH Tupelo to north at RTH West Point on the main. Got 2 boxes marked 1 and 2.
I just showing that track 1 card number 70627062. KCS 2911 2911 South SUTH at Tupelo on the Artesia subdivision. Xbox 1 for that card number 7041 7041. Xbox 2 proceed from south SUTH Tupelo to north in the RTH West Point on the main. 2 boxes are marked 1 and 2 over.
Track 140 number 7062 7062 to the KCS 2911 2911 South SUTH is okay at 1449 April 13th 2023 JLJ.
And track 1 card number 70627062 to KCS 2911 2911 South SUTH. Okay, time at 1449 1449 hour. Date is April 13th 2023. This is JLJ.
That is correct, though.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right, if they end up having to get y'all, push y'all past the yard board, just tell us up whenever y'all get stopped for them to cut off, and we'll get y'all on some box 6's joints so they can get back in the yard.
All right, we'll do.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
All right, rig crew calling the Tupelo switch over. I'll go ahead, over. Are you ready, over? All right, here we go. We were probably 3 car lengths south of the chicken plant when we started. South of what now? That chicken plant crossing right before you get to Cooper. Okay, all right. I should be good if I get down here by the station. Yeah, that's right. We'll stay coupled. We won't cut off, Eric, till we get up there about sunshine. You ought to be good then. That's right. Y'all just cut off when y'all get close to sunshine. All right. No problem. Catch you on the flip side.
Finally, with the train now on the move, we would follow it south throughout the afternoon as it made its way to Artesia. Okolona is a fantastic place to record the locomotives working hard and at speed. Since the train was really shaking the ground at this grade crossing, we opted to ditch our tripod for a handheld shot. In Prairie, Mississippi, we found this old abandoned ICG boxcar along the right-of-way. At one time, it was likely used as a storage unit for maintenance of way equipment. The town of West Point, Mississippi is at milepost 89 and is where the KCS Aberdeen branch connects with the main line. The track alignment through town is an unusual one and is the result of bypassing the old GM&O main line in the early 1980s. A total of 4 Class I railroads intersected here, creating a web of trackage that proved to be challenging to reroute. The railroad bypass was the result of the Tennessee Tombigbee Waterway Project, a 234-mile navigable inland water route connecting the Tennessee and Tombigbee rivers, allowing riverboat traffic to access the Gulf of Mexico. The waterway included numerous locks, dams, and a massive 27-mile man-made divide cut. The man-made lakes created as a result of the project impacted several railroads, including the Southern Railway, Frisco, ICG, and the Columbus and Greenville. To address this, the Army Corps of Engineers planned to compensate the railroads for the construction of new bridges, including the Columbus and Greenville Bridge at Waverly. They also proposed the West Point bypass for C&G trains, which would utilize trackage rights over the ICG from West Point to Artesia and then on to Columbus. The bypass was chosen instead, with an estimated completion date set in the spring of 1984. Unfortunately, a flood in December of 1983 caused a barge to break loose and damage the east approach of the Waverly Bridge. As a result, the C&G began using trackage rights before the bypass was completed, leading to time-consuming and frustrating push-pull moves in West Point. Thankfully, the bypass opened a few months later, allowing the short line to exercise trackage rights over the ICG and later Mid-South. We caught the train arriving at Artesia Yard, where the KCS Tuscaloosa sub ties into the Artesia sub. KCS leased the Tuscaloosa branch in 2005 to Watco, which operates the 85-mile-long railroad as the Alabama Southern. Overnight, cars delivered by the Saltillo turn are sorted at Artesia and either go south on the Macon local to Meridian or are interchanged with Watco. Artesia Yard has a locomotive servicing facility, fuel rack, and car shop. Although it's smaller than others operated by the KCS in the Magnolia State, Artesia is always bustling with activity. In fact, just a few miles from the yard on the Tuscaloosa sub is the massive Columbus Steel Dynamics plant, an electric arc furnace facility with an annual production capacity of over 3.4 million tons. The plant was opened in 2007 by Severstal, a Russian company. Steel Dynamics purchased the 1,400-acre mega site in 2015 for $1.625 billion. Its proximity to serve high-growth markets in the southern states and Mexico made it an attractive buy, providing the steelmaker with geographical diversification. With the connection to KCS and now CPKC, Steel Dynamics has direct access to all three North American countries. In 2018, the company committed $140 million towards the addition of a third galvanizing line at the Columbus facility, which was completed in 2020. Additional investments were made to enhance the process lines and upgrade hot strip mill capabilities. Last fall, they also announced plans to construct an aluminum flat-rolled mill in Columbus's Golden Triangle Industrial Park, adjacent to the current plant. The mill will have an annual capacity of 650,000 metric tons and serve various sectors. Construction is set to start in 2023, focusing on decarbonization and utilizing recycled aluminum scrap. The project will create an estimated 1,000 high-paying jobs and includes a biocarbon production facility. So the next time you're trackside along the Artesia sub and you see a string of coil steel cars, you'll know which customer they're for. We had hoped to chase the Macon local south of Artesia since April 13th was the last day of KCS, but since the Saltillo turn arrived so late in the evening, it had already departed, forcing us to return the next day to follow it south. Friday, April 14th, 2023 was a typical spring day in Meridian, Mississippi. The sky was overcast and the weather was pleasant with a slight breeze. To the average person, there wasn't anything that made this day stand out, but to the rail fan, it marked the beginning of a new chapter in railroad history. For many, the CPKC merger was the first in a lifetime. Seemingly gone were the days of the mega mergers, with the last major railroad takeover being that of Conrail in 1999. For decades, another significant merger seemed unlikely until the era of precision-scheduled railroading. Canadian Pacific's attempts to merge with CSX and Norfolk Southern in 2014 and 2015, led by E. Hunter Harrison, sparked industry-wide changes. Harrison's PSR philosophy continued even after his passing, as CP CEO Keith Creel pursued acquisitions to enhance competitiveness and shareholder returns. The Central Maine and Quebec Railway was the first acquisition under Creel in 2019. In March of 2021, CP announced its plan to acquire Kansas City Southern, but faced competition from Canadian National. Eventually, KCS accepted CP's $31 billion offer, and the merger was approved by the Surface Transportation Board on March 15, 2023. Our first CPKC freight was WHTAR 13, a loaded ballast train bound for Artesia. When you're more familiar with the KCS system, deciphering train symbols can be fun. The W means that this is a work train. The HT means it originated in Hatton, Arkansas, and the AR means that its destination is Artesia. The 13 at the end references the date the train departed. KCS 5024, a Tier 4 GEVO locomotive, was the lead unit and bracketed an SD70 ACE with another Tier 4. The classy-looking trio provided the crew with 13,100 horsepower to get the train over the road. We watched as a KCS yard job sorted cars for the Meridian Southern. The Class 3 short line interchanges with KCS at the south end of the yard. It's known for its eclectic roster of GE B23-7s and first-generation EMDs. As mentioned, this train originated in Hatton, Arkansas at the massive Martin Marietta Limestone Quarry. The 5,000-acre site produces crushed, broken limestone, primarily used as railroad ballast. The stone is mined in finger formations, making it a unique property for mining giant Martin Marietta. Since KCS serves the mine directly, this train's entire 600-plus mile journey was spent entirely on KCS rails. Announced in June of 23, CPKC and CSX reached an agreement to create a new corridor connecting the Southeast with Texas and Mexico via Meridian, Mississippi. By acquiring Genesee and Wyoming's Meridian and Bigby Short Line, CPKC will improve interchange efficiency and expand access to key locations. CSX will gain better reach to terminals in Houston, Laredo, and Mexico, while CPKC will see volume growth opportunities. In return, Genesee and Wyoming will receive certain Canadian properties from CPKC, enabling service expansion in Alberta through another small railroad. The Meridian and Bigby Railroad will continue serving its local customers along the route. This connection provides a competitive alternative to CPKC's existing interchange with Norfolk Southern in Meridian. However, concerns have been raised by Norfolk Southern about the exclusivity arrangement in relation to the Meridian Speedway, which handles a significant portion of its intermodal traffic. CPKC has already begun making improvements to Meridian Yard, facilitating smoother transfers between the Meridian Speedway and the M&B Short Line. Just a few miles north of Meridian, the work train stopped to drop ballast in the small community of Marion. Since the train would be dumping there for at least an hour, we decided to head north to Artesia in order to catch the Macon local before its southbound departure in the afternoon. In Artesia, we noticed an array of 4- and 6-axle locomotives at the servicing facility, including this KCS de Mexico AC 4400. Kansas City Southern de Mexico was a subsidiary of KCS. Established in 1996 as a joint venture, KCS acquired full ownership of the 3,300-mile railroad by buying out its partners' shares. Under concession from the Mexican government, TFM operated what was known as the Northeast Railroad, connecting Monterrey and Mexico City to Laredo, Texas. TFM also served seaports at Lazaro Cardenas and Veracruz. With TFM now dissolved and KCS now merged with CP, CPKC operates these lines. Combined with CP, KCS, and KCS de M trackage, the new company connects all 3 North American countries on 20,000 miles of rail. At noon, the crew for the Macon local went on duty and fired up the 3-pack of Jeeps for what would end up being a long day. Pulling away from the shop track, the friendly employees took the power to the south end of the yard where their outbound train was waiting for them. As they pulled ahead, an Alabama Southern crew was also working the yard. The 2 railroads have a great working relationship, serving what is known as Mississippi's Golden Triangle, a region of economic development formed by the cities of Columbus, Starkville, and West Point. Along with G&W's Columbus and Greenville, Watco and KCS provide logistical solutions for the many industries located within and surrounding the triangle. If you look closely, you can see a Watco conductor stepping off his engine to throw a switch for the Macon local. Although it's officially called the Macon local, this train runs as an Artesia to Meridian turn, going through Macon on its 168-mile round trip. After tying on to their first cut of cars, the crew pulled ahead before shoving back onto another cut. Typically, the Macon local departs Artesia around noon and works industries along the line to and from Meridian. This three-pack of Southern Bells was composed of 2 GP38-2s and 1 GP40-3. In the late 80s and early 90s, following the acquisition of Mid-South, KCS was in dire need of motive power. The company also looked to replace many of its aging locomotives with newer and more reliable EMDs. Always resourceful, they purchased second-hand units from other railroads, such as the GP38-2s on this train, which are former Boston and Maine engines. The GP40-3 is the outlier in the consist, being the only locomotive original to the KCS roster. Between 2017 and 2021, all 3 units were repainted into the iconic Southern Belle scheme. Reintroduced in 2007 by former KCS CEO Mike Haverty, the iconic and colorful design was originally applied to Kansas City Southern's most renowned passenger train of the same name, which operated from 1940 to 1969 between Kansas City, Missouri and New Orleans, Louisiana. With their train now assembled, the engineer of the Macon Local eased the train out of Artesia. Control Point South Artesia is located 4 miles from the yard. Here, trains blast out of yard limits, reaching a track speed of 50 miles per hour. We got ahead of the train at Crawford, where the Macon local met the northbound ballast train that we saw in Meridian that morning. The Mobile and Ohio arrived at Crawford in 1857. Established in 1840, it was named after its founder, Baptist minister Peter Crawford. Today, there isn't much activity or economic development in this rural town of 641 residents. An Army surplus store and the Cargill elevator are the only businesses operating on Main Street. The elevator was once rail-served, but hasn't loaded grain onto a train for many years. Roughly 40 minutes after the Macon local entered the siding, the ballast train came through Crawford. Passing the elevator, the train accelerated out of town. Without any ballast, pulling this train was a breeze for the 3-unit set. Just a few miles south of Crawford is the town of Brooksville. A post office was established in 1846, and the town was incorporated in 1860. The small community has a population of 1,223 and has a large Holdeman Mennonite community. Sadly, there are no signs of economic development in downtown, with many vacant buildings lining the streets. In April 1862, Confederate soldiers wounded during the Tennessee Battle of Shiloh were taken by train to Brooksville and were treated at a hospital. This monument honors the fallen, who are supposedly buried under the walking track adjacent to the statue. For many locals, it is a stark reminder of the South's troubled past. Sugarlock is home to the Sugarlock Lumber Company, a family-owned business since 1948. The mill produces up to 150 million feet of wood boards, using KCS to ship across the country. The Macon local often works Sugarlock on its return to Artesia. Back in Marion, the engineer slowed the train as it approached Meridian. The local was being forced to wait north of the Meridian Diamond, where Norfolk Southern and KCS trains cross each other's mains. In Meridian, we found Amtrak's southbound Crescent, train number 19, patiently waiting for a Norfolk Southern train to move. Not only is Meridian a busy KCS hub, it's also a crew change point for Norfolk Southern's AGS trainmen, and as a result, is often congested. This dilemma is nothing new, and in 1957, the 22nd Street overpass was built to alleviate excessive automobile traffic created by stopped trains. The Crescent is a daily long-distance passenger train operated between Penn Station in New York City and Union Passenger Terminal in New Orleans. Major service stops outside of the Northeast Corridor include Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, and Birmingham, Alabama. Most of the train's routing is on Norfolk Southern Railway. It's the successor of the Southern Crescent, introduced in 1970 by Norfolk Southern's predecessor, the Southern Railway. The Crescent has a long and storied history. It began as two separate trains, the Southerner and the Crescent, which were merged in 1970 to create the Southern Crescent. The Southern Crescent was one of the last two privately operated long-distance passenger trains in the U.S., with the other being the Rio Grande Zephyr. However, mounting revenue losses and equipment replacement expenses forced Southern Railway to leave the passenger business altogether. Amtrak took over operating the train on February 1, 1979, and renamed it the Crescent. Amtrak's version of the Crescent has undergone a number of changes over the years. In 1989, Amtrak added a section of the train between Birmingham and Mobile, Alabama, known as the Gulf Breeze. It ran until 1995, when it was canceled due to budget constraints. The Atlanta to New Orleans portion of the Crescent was also reduced to tri-weekly operation from 1995 to 1996. In 2019, Amtrak removed traditional dining car services from the Crescent and replaced them with a reduced menu of flexible dining options. As a result, the dining car serves as a lounge car for the exclusive use of sleeping car passengers. In addition to Norfolk Southern, Amtrak utilizes Meridian Station as a crew base for the Crescent. As you can see, this Birmingham to Meridian crew was stepping down from the lead locomotive to change places with the Meridian to New Orleans crew. Union Station, also known as the Meridian Multimodal Transportation Center, is located at 1901 Front Street. The complex includes a combination of a newly built section and a restored surviving wing from the original 1906 building. It was officially dedicated on December 11, 1997. In addition to Amtrak, Union Station serves as a central location for Greyhound and other bus service providers. The mezzanine level of the station also features meeting rooms designed for community activities, while the existing East Wing houses Meridian's Economic Development Agency. Adjacent to the Amtrak station, a former Railway Express Agency building has been renovated and transformed into the Meridian Railroad Museum, providing an opportunity for visitors to learn about Meridian's railway history. Unlike the uniform consists seen on Amtrak's Superliner-equipped trains in the western United States, the eastern long-distance single-level trains operate with a mix of Amfleet and Viewliner cars. The introduction of Amfleet cars in the mid-70s significantly improved Amtrak's train reliability and attracted more passengers. They were the first new locomotive-hauled intercity cars to be ordered since 1965 and the first to be built in the United States. The Amfleet 2 cars were designed to replace existing rolling stock on certain long-distance trains. They offered larger windows, increased legroom, and folding leg rests for passenger comfort. The first 4 Amfleet 2 cars were delivered by Budd on October 28, 1981, with the official unveiling taking place on November 11th. The remaining cars were delivered by June 11, 1983, marking the end of Budd's production of intercity cars. As the Crescent rounded the curve south of the station, it passed by Norfolk Southern Train 244, which had just been recrewed. After the Crescent cleared town, southbound NS Train 339 took its turn over the Diamond. This daily intermodal originates at Norris Yard in Irondale, Alabama, running over the AGS to the CPKC, where it becomes train 167. As 339 was slowly pulling into Meridian to be handed off to the CPKC, northbound NS Train 244 blasted out of town with our friend, engineer David Light, at the throttle. .244 is a 5 times weekly intermodal that comes off the Meridian Speedway and almost always has CPKC motive power. It runs from Meridian to Atlanta and may work at McAlla, Alabama while en route. Unfortunately, the Macon local was delayed for 2 additional hours, unable to access the yard due to stopped NS and CPKC trains. It was well after dark when the crew finally gained permission to cross the diamond, and since they would die in the yard with only 2 hours of work time left, the dispatcher had them tie it down in Meridian Yard. This concluded the first day of CPKC on the Artesia sub. As with all railroad mergers, there are many changes on the horizon for this former KCS line, including new paint schemes, locomotives, track alignments, and traffic patterns. Time will tell how it'll all play out, but for now, this video serves as a historical record of how it all started. In total, it took about 150 hours to research and produce this video. Without your support, long-form, free video content at this level would simply be impossible. With that, we thank you for watching and supporting Delay in Block Productions. Until next time, happy railroading.